Shalom Israel. Y'all about Shemi Al-Shai, brother come. Y'all Shemalu come about Shemi Al-Shai. I'm Priest Officer Parag holding it down for the ISUPK weekly Hebrew class, right? We're going to pretty much jump right on into it. Today, we're going to be going over the Hebrew origins of English words. All right? Right. As we all know about Hebrew is is the Lord's language that He gave to His chosen people. That language is highly coveted. That's why you see the so-called white man, right? You see Esau taking and Amalek taking our language and mixing it with Aramaic and Yiddish and coming up with that modern Hebrew that you see today, right? It's because our language is a highly coveted language. It's a language that is extremely expressive, right? Meaning the words that are in the Hebrew language are far more expressive. You can express yourself using those words far more than in any other language. Some people say, Spanish is the language of love. I always mention that, right? Because they say it's a really expressive language. Well, that may be so. It is a very expressive language. Hebrew is the most expressive language. That's why the Lord gave it to us, right? So today we're going to go over where some of the English words that we use today stem directly from the ancient Hebrew, right? So we'll kind of jump right on into it. It's going to kind of double as a vocabulary class, but it's just kind of cool to see. I don't really want to call it cool. It's kind of interesting to see how these heathens have stolen our language, right, in so many different ways, even to where now the English that we teach or speak today is derived in part from our original language, right? All right, so the first word that we got is bayash, right? I think I might erase that at the top. Y'all know what the hell we're talking about. All right. So like I said, first word, what? It's going to be bayash. All right. All right. Bayash simply means put to shame. All right. Bayash. So now the English word that is derived from this, can anybody tell me? It sounds similar. You tell me?
Bash.
Very close. That's a derivative of the word abash, right? Right. So it's basically the same thing, but abash is the root word. So people have then later on in modern English shortened it just to bash, right?
It's like everyone. A bash is that's one Kodash as well.
No.
Oh.
Abash is the English.
Okay.
I'll make a.
It's a lot.
No, it's all good. I'll make a differentiation in color, right? I'll make a differentiation in color just so that we can see the difference. So abash is, basically where, abash is the word in English that is derived directly from the Hebrew. It stems from Latin, right? course, as you know, in the English language it all comes from Greek, comes from Latin, right? Those are the main languages that English comes from, right? Um, right. That's all it means. You look it up. The full definition, if you want the full definition of a bash, it's to make someone feel embarrassed, disconcerted, or ashamed, right? That's what this is. So now, of course, you can see it, right? You can see how it's been taken from our original language, and then made sound stupid and silly like English, right? So that's the first one. All right. The next one is I buy your rock. All right. All right. I buy your rock, which means abnormality. Abnormality, or just, of course, abnormal, right? Something out of the ordinary. All right. So the English word that comes and derives directly from this Hebrew word, you might get it, you might not. It kind of sounds similar, right? And it's kind of like if you were in high school and you took like the advanced English classes, maybe this has been a vocabulary word. I just give it to you for time's sake. Aberration. I'm just gonna put an L for Latin, right? Because some of these stem from Middle English, some of them stem from Late Latin, some of them still stem from Greek, right? So I'll just put the L there just so you know it comes from Latin, right? Which I mean, it's the same thing. Something that's abnormal, the same thing. Just for the sake of the space on the board, right? I don't want to have to write the whole definition out. It means literally the same thing. If you want the full definition, the definition is a departure from what is normal, usual, or expected, typically one that is unwelcome, right? Another term that you can equate with ibayara is transgression, right? Like for instance, if you transgress the Most High's law, it means you're not keeping the law. Meaning, what is it? You're doing something that's abnormal. You're coming away from the law. Same thing as an aberration. It's the same thing, right? I'll give one more on here. All right. Where we at? All right, we're gonna do a hadar. All right. All right. Hadar, which means to honor or adorn. All right. You can get us on the shot for the English term that derives from this.
It's a lot, sir.
Adore. All right. Latin as well. Let's see if I can fit this. Let's see. All right. That's what the definition is. If you go into your Merriam-Webster's, that's the definition it's going to give you. All right. So, adore means love, respect, or worship. If you want full, the full definition, if you go into your Merriam-Webster's, the first definition is love and respect someone deeply. The second definition is to worship or venerate. Remember, the word hadar means to honor. It's the same thing as worship, right? Same thing as venerate. It's the same thing, right? So this is what we got so far. I just want to leave this up here for just a minute, right? Do this on my screen or something like that. So we got these three words. So I'll leave that up there for just a minute. I was gonna have a brother come up and do the Assyrians, but there's not much room next to these. So I'll leave it up there for a second if anybody wants to take notes. We'll actually give one example sentence. I'll try to do one per, per three words that we do.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out which one we're going to use. All right. Um, what I just wrote here at the bottom, it says Anya Mahadar Awafki. It's like a Awafka. All right. What that says is, I respect you. That's what that says. All right. So Anya, meaning I, and then Mahadar, right, pertaining to you and somebody else. And of course, Wafka, meaning you. All right. That's just kind of an example sentence. You can do that with each one of these now, right? Each one of these that are verbs. These are all no. So that's not a verb, right? But you can do that same thing with bayash, right? You can say anya ma bayash awatka, right? Which would basically mean I put you to shame. That's what that would say, right? So that's just an example sentence. If you could, just for that one, just because we read out of the Tanakh, if you could, for that one, just do the Assyrian here, and then we'll move on. I appreciate it. All right, we're gonna get on to the next set of words. I'll leave out there for just a couple of seconds. Take notes on. But we're gonna have to move on just so we can get the rest of these words in. I got about, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 10 more, 12 more, something along those lines. Right. Let's see if one of these black ones works. All right. All right. So the next one we're gonna do. Start with Adawan. All right. Adawan, which of course we all know means Lord. All right. So now the English version of this, it actually is more Greek than English, but you know it's an English word that we use, right? Now it's not a normal English word that we just throw around all the time, but the word is Adonis. All right, Adonis, which originally was a Greek word, right? So Adonis was a ruler, right? He was a Greek ruler. And so the term literally means ruler. All right. Adonis. And of course, you can kind of see the similarity, right? You can see the similarity out of one, Adonis. They're both saying the same thing. It's just the way that language does is language moves and it translates, right? It translates consistently. The same thing that happens even in America, and the same way that American English is slightly different than British, right? British English is a little bit different than the way that we speak in America, right? Because that language is translated, right? We don't call the elevator a lift, right? We call it an elevator, right? And a lot of different small things. You get what I'm saying? I think there's a different name for a garage. There's a bunch of different names for a bunch of different. It's ridiculous. But even the accent, right? The vernacular, the way that we speak is completely different. Although these are those same people that had this place in the 13 colonies, right? Of course, I'm not about to get into an English history lesson with y'all. It's about language, right? So that's the first one. All right. All right. All right. So the next one that we're gonna do, I like this one. Um, Alabana, which Alabana, which means whitening, right? Now the root of this word halabana is laban, which means white. All right, that's what the word laban means. But this word halabana in its entirety means whitening. All right. Somebody tell me. Can you tell me what this would be in the English? What English word derives from this term here in the Hebrew?
Oh, albino.
Damn, Mark, you got it. Albino. Albino, the term albino stems directly from the ancient Hebrew term halabana, which means whitening. I guess I can do. Okay, so that's Latin. All right. I'm gonna try to shorten this definition. All right. Person with no pigment. When you have no pigment, then you're extremely, completely, 100% white, ridiculously white. And an albino person, usually, well, not usually, all the time, they have their hair is white, the eyebrows is white, everything is white on them at all, right? So that's where that term comes from. Albino comes from the Hebrew term halabana, which means whitening, all right? And just once again, there's just a little tidbit to throw on the side there. The root word for halabana is laban, which means white by itself, all right? Yeah, all right, the next one is going to be this one I hate. This one is Civil War. Civil War. It means connection. The root word, let me see if I can fit it in here. I'll just fit it in like this. The root word is kabar, which means unite. All right. Now nobody's going to guess this one, so I'm really not even going to, unless you want to try to guess it.
Collaborate?
Nah, that would be nice. This word I hate, and this isn't going to make any sense at first. They don't all sound the same. This one sounds completely different. That's why I say nobody's going to guess it. This one I hate. Algebra. The term algebra stems from, at first, it stemmed from the people, the Arabs. What the hell do they speak? I don't know. Starts with Arabic. They speak Arabic. It stems from Arabic, right?
I was trying to guess.
just for a point of reference, it doesn't much matter because we're really focused on the this is kind of like the fun part is learning the words that in English today are derived from Hebrew. The main thing we want to get is we want to get these vocabulary words right, but it's also kind of important to see where some of these English words stem from our language, right? So the term algebra, right, is it comes from Arabic, and initially after it came from us. The Arabic, I keep wanting to say Arabic. The Arabic term is what is it? Algebra, right? Algebra. And so I don't even know. Y'all know it's math. That's what it is. I'm just gonna break math. The math that I goddamn hate. All right. So that's what algebra is. Now, the connection, like I said, there's actually kind of a long history behind it. The Israelites didn't invent math, but if you go back into a lot of the ancient artifacts, we were the best at it, right? And specifically algebra, I'll read you the definition of algebra just so I'm just going to put math up there, but I'll read you the definition of algebra. It says the part of mathematics in which letters and other general symbols are used to represent numbers and quantities in formula and equations. Right? That's what algebra is. That's math. Right? That's all that is. But so now, the Arabic language is a very old language. One thing that you'll notice from the Arabs, the so-called Arabs, right? They actually got a lot from us. The Arabs that we see today that serve a monotheistic God, just a singular God, they got that from us. Because prior to Muhammad, they were serving, I think it was over 600 gods, some along those lines, right? But when Muhammad saw the Israelites, you can find this actually in the Quran, right? He saw the unity of the Israelites. He wanted to be like us, which I don't know why the hell anybody would want to be a Muslim and try to be like them, but they're literally copying you, and even down to the monotheism, right? But that's that. I don't want to get too much on that. Let's leave it at that for right now. Just a second. Um, I'll do one example sentence real quick. I'll do a simple one. So let me get out the way. Adawanya, right? He is my Lord. That's what that says, right? Means he, and then Adawanya. So Adawan is Lord. You have the Yah here. It's possessive. It means mine or mine. And so that's what that phrase is, right? Adawanya. Okay. We got up there for a second. When you get through taking notes, if you could just go ahead and throw the Syrian up there for me. Yes, sir. Smaki, y'all. Don't take that down yet. I just noticed I made a mistake. Smaki. It's Hawa'a, not Awa'a. I'll leave that there for just a minute in case anybody's taking notes, and then I'll go ahead and move on to the next couple words. Moving on. All right. So the next set of words, we're going to be starting with the word in the Hebrew, Imal. Right? Imal. All right. This term means work, labor, or trouble. That's what Imal means. Now, I'm going to blow everybody's mind with this one. I want to get a shot.
It's a lot of them, sir.
America.
God damn. God damn.
America, right? America stems, of course, America stems from this. All right. The Germanic root word amal stems from imal, which means work, labor, or trouble. And so America, of course, if you go into the history of it, right, America is the modernized English way to say Amerigo, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you go back into the Latin, it's Americus, right? Mm-hmm. So, but Americus is derived directly from the Germanic root amal. And that, of course, derives from imal, which is us. Just a couple of them, a couple of other names, right? Let's see what we got here. We got, let's see, I want to put these in a different color. Oh, different color. Don't name y'all kids none of these. So you got Emily. That also stems from that. Let me see, Amelia. Let me see another one. Emery. I don't know if anybody named Emery, but yeah. Those names all stem from that same thing, right? So I thought that was a kicker. I wasn't gonna put that one up there. I was like, wait a minute. Might as well, right? But yeah, that's where the term America comes from. So it goes back. The most modern way to say America is America. And you go back, the man that founded, well, I don't want to say the man that founded America, but the man whose name was the name, how do you say it? The man who, the land that America was named after was Amerigo Vespucci, all right? That tied me up for a second. And then when you go back to the Latin root of his name, Amerigo, it's Americus. And then when you go back to the root of that, it goes back to the Germanic root, amal, which then goes back to Imal. That's the path that took all the way to get to America, right? That's what it is. All right. And Amal means the same thing. Amal. Amal means work, labor, or trouble. This is the same thing. Right? All right, now, next word. Aitayak. All right, the term Aitayak means ancient. What do you think the English word for that is? It's not ancient. It's similar. Aitayak. Antique. That's exactly what it means. Antique. Of course, that stems from, like most of these words are going to stem from Latin. All right. I think we all know what an antique is. Let me see if I can. I don't really want to. Y'all know what an antique is, right? Everybody knows what an antique is, right? So I'll read the definition just so, because I don't have enough room to write the whole definition. And it's really hard to simplify. But the definition is a collectible object such as a piece of furniture or work of art that has a high value because of its considerable age. All right. Now, if you go into the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the third definition of antique is ancient Greece. That's the third definition of the term antique, right? Because a lot of, remember, when we were under the Roman captivity, a lot of the Hebrew that we were speaking, we had to stop speaking. But they were taking note of our language, right? They were taking note of our language and were studying our language while we couldn't study it, right? Of course, that's by design. That's why they're speaking our language. Well, they're speaking a bastardized form of our language while we don't speak it at all, right? There's that. Let's get one more on the same. The next one is Araya. All right. This one, we really. All right, Araya. We should actually already know this. It's the same as Arataza. It just means land. It's literally the same thing. A region. All right. So Araya. So you can also say that in reference to land or region. So Araya, land or region. Now, what's the English word that derives from this Hebrew word?
Area.
Area, right? Area. All right. Area, it's the same thing, right? It's the region or the landmass. But you see how crazy that is? Araya area. Like that, I thought these were kind of cool, man, because I was just gonna do vocabulary, but I decided to get some of these. There's a book that is literally called the Hebrew Origins of English Words, and some, I didn't get all the way into it, but a lot of these cite some crazy sources, man, and it kind of gives you a rundown of all of the different languages that our language has passed through to get now into even today in English, right? All right, so I'll leave it up there for just a second. Try to think of an example sentence that I can put together with one of these. All right. So what that says, what that says is says on Yah, I Mal, I war Yahweh, right? What this says is I work for Yahweh. That's what it says, right? Or I labor for Yahweh, right? You could actually also, if you wanted to, depending on the context of your speech, you could also say I am troubled for Yahweh, right? Um, but that's that example sentence. I figured I'd just throw one up there so you're going to think of it. If you could just throw that in the Ethereum.
All right, the one I will leave it up there for just a minute. Anybody want to take notes on that? Copy down the both forms of Hebrew for that sentence. Once again, that says, I work for the Lord, I labor for the Lord, or it can also mean I am troubled for the Lord. All right.
I gotta get a new eraser.
All right, we're going to get the next set of words.
All right.
Beginning with the term in the Hebrew, bar. All right. Which just means a barrier.
I'll get us on a shout out. What the Hebrew, what the English term would be that derives from this Hebrew word?
Barricade?
No. It's simpler than you think.
Bar?
Bar. Yeah, that's exactly where this term comes from. All right, the term bar in the English is the same thing. It's exactly the same thing, right? Now, I'm going to write up here barricade, but I'll read you the full definition. It's the same thing. All right. So the definition of bar for the English is a long rod or rigid piece of wood, metal, or similar material, typically used as an obstruction, fastening, or weapon. This would be an obstruction, right? This would be what you would use. That'd be the definition that you would use for bar, relating specifically all the way back to the Hebrew term bar. All right. I thought that one was kind of cool. They didn't do much. They didn't do much work trying to change that one around, right? Next one is babal. All right, babal. Confusion of voices. That's all that means. When you read the Tower, when you read in the book of Genesis, where the Most High divided the nations because of and confounded their languages, because they built that tower up to the Most High, that was called the Tower of Babel. That's exactly what it is. All right. Who can tell me what it is in the English?
Babel.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Babel. That's a real word. That's a real word. That's not something. That's not white slang. That's a real thing. All right. In the dictionary, I'm gonna try to shorten this definition up. By the way, this is this okay. So now this term here, it actually comes uh, from German, right? Specifically Middle Low German, meaning towards the I can't recall the exact date, right? But the era is called Middle Low German, all right. And so to try to simplify this, um, I'll say this: incomprehensible speech.
Mm.
Say myself in the but that's what babble means, all right? Now, the full definition, right, is to talk rapidly and continuously in a foolish, excited, or incomprehensible way. That's what this is, right? That's what it means to babble. Somebody babbling at you is just a bunch of gibberish. They're just talking a bunch of crazy mess, all right? Next term, la. All right, ba. That's the proper way to pronounce it if you ever reading that. It's not baha, it's just ba. All right. To come to be. That's what ba is. Anybody can tell me what it is in English? You should call it out if you think you know it.
Be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Right? Same thing to come to be, or you could say to exist. Right? So we'll leave it at that for a second. Let me try to think of an example sentence for y'all, but while I'm doing that, you can take these notes down. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just do this. Just because I mentioned it. Right. Just because I mentioned it, I'm giving y'all that. That just means the Tower of Babel. Excuse me, the Tower of Babel. All right. The dome by itself, it just means so the how right here just means the, and then the dome means tower, fortress, castle, and then Babal, of course, is Babel, right? That's what it is. Just so y'all might have that for y'all notes. And then whenever you got it out, you can go up there and hit the ancient. I'm using the series.
Mm-hmm.
next couple in a minute. All right, we'll get the next set of words. All right, I think this will be the last set. So we got Ba'ashan. What you think? I'm not even gonna put it up there because I think it's like a dead giveaway if I put it up there.
Didn't hurt it.
No. I'm saying what would be the, because if I put the definition up there, the definition is the English term. So what do you believe that the English term is that derives from this Hebrew word? Ba'ashan. No. Ba'ashan. No, don't think of it like that. Don't think of it like that. It's its own word. It's not. That's not anything outside of it. It's all one word. So there's no possessive add-ons to this. Anything. It's its own word.
Fashion?
Sorry?
Fashion?
No. It's gonna kill you. It's just bison.
Huh.
But I mean, you can kind of tell you can tell the similarity, right? Let me see if I have anything to write about this. Let me see bison. It just stems from Old English. That's it. And I don't think I need to put a definition on it. It's an animal, right? Everybody got some good old bison burgers in there that we need to fry up. I'm just going to cook up. All right, next one. See, now these are kind of so goddamn simple. It's kind of ridiculous, but let's see. So this one. Lot. I can't. It's like the last one. This one ain't an animal though. It's heavy. It might be real. This one doesn't sound as similar, but it kind of sounds, I guess, a little bit similar.
To
It's heavy, like as in literally heavy.
oh,
And like I said, he probably not gonna get it. I'd be surprised if he did it.
to ball a lot.
No. It's a noun. It's a thing, and it's heavy. Right. So bow a lot. Right. It sounds similar, but not all the way similar. I'm gonna just give it to you.
All right, so
It's bolder.
Okay.
That's all it is. Right. Real simple. Let me see. I mean, everybody knows what a boulder is, I guess, but I'll just do it for the sake of being proper. All right. It is literally just a large rock. That's all it is. If you want to look at the definition says a large rock, and then it also says typically one that has been worn smooth by erosion. But it doesn't have to be smooth, it can just be a big ass rock. And that's what a boulder is. That's what bawalat is in the Hebrew. The term boulder in the English stems directly all the way back down. If you go back down the line, it comes and it derives from the Hebrew word bawalat. All right. We'll next do one of my favorite words, which is barzal. Anybody know what barzal is? Pretty sure it was a vocabulary word I've done before. Barzal. It's brass. I'm gonna give it to you. It can be brass or it can be iron, right? But that's what it is. All right. And so of course the English term brass derives from barzal. All right. I'll give you a definition just because it's. Y'all want me to get technical? It's a yellow alloy of copper and zinc. That's what the definition says. All right. Last one for the night. Barakah. I kind of want to see if you can guess it. Well, no, I'm gonna let y'all guess it, but I'm gonna do the definition first. So barakah is a canal. So what would be the English word? It's not canal. What would be the English word for that derives from barakah? You give it a shot. It's a canal, right? It's a canal. Barakah is a canal. So the English word is like real kind of real close. One syllable. All right. Not even a shot. It's a brook.
Damn.
Brook. Right. Old English is where it stems from. All right, which is a small stream. All right, I'll leave that up there for a second, and we'll kind of close out after that.
So I can say, you know, what's crazy is it's almost like the K, the letter K, and then the Ka, they almost look damn near the same.
Yeah, no, I noticed that with a lot. Like that's kind of how I was able to recall. Like the La just looks just like an L. The Pa looks like a J, right? The Tazal looks like an R. The Sha looks like a W. The Da looks like an X. Like a lot of these, that's how I passed my officer test. is memorizing because it was hard for me to memorize each one of those different characters in ancient and Assyrian. You get what I'm saying? But the ancient was so much easier because it was like I could, the Da is a triangle. You get what I'm saying? Like it's easy to kind of connect those things in your head. When you get to the Assyrian, it's a little bit harder. But if you could just pull for me Zephaniah. I was going to pull a different. Pull for me Zephaniah 3 and 9, just real quick. All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and close out. This is pretty much everything I wanted to go over for today. Once again, you know what I'm saying? A lot of this is really just vocabulary, but I thought it was quite interesting to be able to see how a lot of these English words that we use today derive from this language that's derived from us, right? And it's really important to look at those things and understand what kind of a devil that you're up against, because they're showing you the truth in plain sight, but they're hiding it in plain sight. You know what I'm saying? So that's why this language is so important. It's part of coming back to our culture. I read this damn near every time I get to teach the class. Give me Zephaniah 3 and 9 real quick.
It's the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 9. For then I will turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent.
With what?
One consent.
Listen, in order to really truly serve the Most High in one consent, we all have to speak the same language, don't we? Right? The Lord confounded the languages of the nations for a reason, because he did not want all the nations on one consent, but he did want us, the children of Israel, on one consent, right? And want us to serve God on one consent, right? And so because that's the case, we've, of course, gone far away from the law of the Most High, right? We've left the law of the Most High, left our Father, and we've gone out to these other nations and prefer to speak Spanish, prefer to speak English, prefer to speak French in Haiti, you get what I'm saying, in Canada, right? We prefer to speak these other languages because we prefer these other nations. Well, guess what? The Lord is going to, in that day, what day is that talking about? That's the day Christ returns. Christ is going to return. And he's going to restore unto us a pure language. And that pure language is what we're learning here today. We're getting a little bit of a head start. And the scriptures say that. The scriptures say that there would be a little sanctuary set up where we would come back to our heritage before Christ even came back. Right? The book of Ezekiel says that there would be a little sanctuary in the land of our captivity. And that's what the ISUPK is. That's why we have the gift and the honor and the privilege of being able to learn this language, man. Right? When nobody else is. Nobody else, and nobody else gives a damn either, right? Listen, if you look at IUIC, them cats, they don't even care about the language. They stopped speaking it because they were like, well, I don't even know if this is the real language. In the ISUPK, we know, right? We've made sure. We weren't just sure. We've made sure. We've made sure that this is the language of the Most High. And we're going to speak it until Christ returns and after. Because he's going to have to give you stupid niggas this language again. We've been trying to do it, right? That's all we're trying to do. That's why we have these classes every week, because we're trying to give you your language back, your culture and your heritage. But you don't want to take it. That's fine. We'll have all of it. Leave it all to us. And then when Christ returns, he'll give it to you. He'll make you speak it, right? And that's what we're looking forward to. But until then, we do what the scriptures say. The scriptures say to rehearse the righteous acts. And that's exactly what we're doing every day out of the week. But specifically on this day, the righteous act that we're rehearsing is practicing that pure language that the Lord is going to restore into his children. All right? So with that, I'm going to close out the class. If you're watching online, the very bottom of the screen, you're going to be able to see our class schedule and our class location. We got coming up tomorrow, of course, the Sabbath service. Every brother and sister should make it if you can, right? As a high holy day of the Most High God, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, we host our holy Sabbath service here, right here at the school, right? 12416 North 28th Drive, Phoenix, Arizona, 85029. We're in suite number 4. All right? With that, we'll go ahead and close out the class. Shalom.